Welcome back to Overtime Heroics. I'm Mason Shatwell, and joining me today is Damon Wilson, who again has come off a victory on Cage Warriors. Damon, how are you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm wonderful, Mason. How are you doing?
I can't complain. A couple of weeks out from your fight, what do you make of it? Describe it.
Yeah, man. Man, it was about as good as a fight can go. I mean, you go in there planning to fight for 15 minutes, and I tried to detach myself from the outcome and the results, but getting it done in 11 seconds or whatever it was with no injuries and a win is about as good as it goes. So I'm very pleased with the outcome, definitely.
I wouldn't quote me on this, but I believe this was one of, if not the fastest knockout in Cage Warriors. It's got to be up there.
Yeah, I've heard a few people say that. Actually, when it's funny, I'll tell you a little background on that. A couple weeks before the fight, a buddy of mine, me and him were talking about it. We're fight fans, so we think about those kind of things. And I told him I figured I could get it done quick, and he was like, "Well, you think you could get the featherweight Cage Warriors record for fastest KO?" And I was like, man, we'll need to look it up who it is. And I figured, Connor's got to have it. So I just told him to get on Connor's record and see what his fastest was in Cage Warriors, and I think it was around a minute 30. So after I hit the knockout and I was getting my hand raised, and I kind of said out of the side of my mouth to Herb Dean, I was like, I think that's a record, Herb. And he didn't say anything to me. He's a pretty quiet guy, but yeah, a few other people were talking about it being a record. I haven't been, told for sure that it's a record. But man, if it is, that's awesome. I didn't go into that fight necessarily trying to get that, but I did talk about it with my buddy beforehand, so it was pretty interesting to go in there and get it done that quick.
With your past two fights being on Cage Warriors, obviously, before that you had a couple of years out. How would you say your relationship with Cage Warriors has been recently?
Yeah, man, Cage Warriors has done nothing but treat me with professionalism and loyalty. I mean, they told me I'd be fighting on the card and that I'd have an opponent, and I put my faith in that and got to training and just focused on training and leading up to the fight. I didn't have an opponent until probably I don't know 2 or 3 weeks before the fight. So it crosses your mind. You're a little worried about that kind of stuff, but I put my trust in them and knew that they're a credible company. So it's phenomenal being able to work for a company like them. You hear all kinds of stories. All my teammates have fought all over the place. And they always talk about fighting in Mexico and in bars and stuff like that, and casinos and all kinds of things. And my pro debut, I fought for an organization that wasn't as professional as I would have liked them to be. Tried not to pay me and that kind of thing. So yeah, fighting for somebody like Cage Warriors is a blessing for sure. And obviously the events they've been putting on here in SoCal have been pretty phenomenal as well. So yeah, everybody there that I've met is a good person, and they always got those weird accents, but I guess I can get past that.
Obviously, you couldn't have asked anything more of yourself from the fight. How did you celebrate the win?
Celebration is cheeseburgers and whiskey, man. It's always the same for me. I need a juicy cheeseburger first and foremost. And then some whiskey, which it tends to go the other way. I always get handed a whiskey right as I walk out of the cage. So yeah, I got a good buzz from that, and then went down the road to the pub and got some cheeseburgers. And yeah, man, just spend time with the family. I had a good crew there. My mom and dad were there this time, so it was good to have them around. My brother, my fiance, a bunch of work colleagues. So my teammates and coaches, we all just went out and yeah, just had cheeseburgers and whiskey. It's pretty simple. I'm a simple guy, so.
I'll talk about your teammates in a moment, but I wanted to ask, with this being your second fight on Cage Warriors, getting the job done, say when Cage Warriors do venture back into the US, I don't think we know when that is yet. Do you plan on being on the next US card?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, that was the one thing that I didn't like about that 11-second knockout is I just didn't. I didn't feel like I don't know. I was just ready to go this week. Like I was back to training this week. Some teammates have some fights coming up, so I was right back in the gym. I like fighting, man, and so I want to get back in there as quick as possible. So yeah, I think they're shooting at February. I believe is the next US card. So that's kind of what I have my eyes set on is February. So that'll give me some time to go back home to Illinois for the holidays, spend Thanksgiving, Christmas with the family, be back out here after Christmas, and start my camp, if you will. And yeah, I'll do a lot of grappling probably over the winter. I've got some good gyms back home. The Daisy Fresh Pedigo crew, I don't know if you know them. They're blowing up in the jiu-jitsu community, so be able to get some good rounds with them. And then the Benton Ranger wrestling team, my hometown wrestling team, my buddy and my brother coach them, so I'll be able to get some wrestling in with them as well. Try to take a little bit of time off of getting punched in the head and whatnot. But yeah, February is what we're looking at next US card, definitely.
How was your weight cut for this fight?
Man, the weight was easy. I think we've talked before a little bit about it. I don't cut a ton of weight.
Mm-hmm.
I got a really high metabolism, so my weight is always within striking distance. But I did focus really hard on just a clean diet. Probably 4 weeks out from the fight, I just had a really clean diet. No junk, no sugars, and just bad stuff. Just eating, 2 or 3 meals a day of good protein, good vegetables, fruit. Take my protein shakes after practice and do all my recovery, and it just ends up working out pretty well. I tried to mimic my first fight with Cage Warriors as much as possible, because that way went pretty well as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say I saw a little bit of a difference this time just when I stepped on the scale to weigh in. I just felt a little better. I felt a little fuller, and I looked a little fuller, which is kind of strange because I weighed the same. I weighed 44 and a half. And I flexed and didn't cramp up. That first time I flexed and cramped up a little bit. So I don't know. I just felt a little better, and like, man, I don't put a lot of weight on in between the weigh-ins and the fight. I like staying lean. I feel fast when I'm lean. Yeah, I mean, it went really well. I mean, I was in shape and ready to go for 15 for sure.
I think it was the night before your fight was announced. I think you told me your opponent, but did you know much about him before? Obviously, Cage Warriors came to you with the name.
No, you try to do as much research as you can. He had just fought in Bellator, but no, I didn't know a ton about him. I knew that he was probably going to look to strike. He was probably going to look to throw a few kicks, and I think he's more of a boxer than anything. So I kind of knew that going in, and I mean I have confidence in my wrestling, so I don't ever really like worry too much about that aspect of it. Like, I know that my instincts are going to take over, and I'm going to be a tough son of a bitch to take down. So that allows me to just kind of focus a little more on my striking and let my hands go, which is that's exactly what I did. I just went in there, wanted to let my hands go and rely on my instinct, and got the job done.
100%. I wanted to ask, obviously, as I mentioned your teammates before, you mentioned some have some fights coming up. Do you think it's beneficial for everybody when everyone's got a fight coming up and you're all preparing at your full?
Yeah, definitely. Man, it just, first off, it gets everyone in the gym, which is nice, having a full team in the gym. And that I come from a wrestling background, so like having a team around me pushing and a coach pushing you, that's the environment that I thrive in. So I love that kind of feel, and we definitely get that feel when people are in camp. Man, I just came from grappling practice today, and we had probably 20, 25 guys in there. A couple guys from different gyms coming in to help out. But yeah, we got Philly coming up. Alberto Trujillo. He's fighting in 3 weeks or so. And then we got Dom and Wilson Hayes are both fighting December 11th. So yeah, we got good guys coming up, and yeah, man, it feels good. And for me, like, they kind of told me to take a little time off because I just fought, and I'm like, man, I don't really want to take any time off. Like, I want to be in there and grinding with these guys. They help me out, so I feel like I need to help them out. But also, like, that's when I learn the best is when I'm going with those guys at their best. They're going to be peaking in a couple weeks, so I mean, right there, you're going with a couple of the top guys in the world. But yeah, that team camaraderie is pretty key. I feel like a lot of MMA guys they sometimes get away from that. They do a lot of private lessons and stuff like that, which I see benefit in that too. There's pros and cons with any kind of training, but yeah, I'm a team atmosphere kind of guy. It takes me back to those grimy wrestling days.
100%. I wanted to ask, obviously, you said the weight cut went perfect. Did camp go the way that you wanted it to? Did it go start to finish the way you planned?
Yeah, we had a couple of hiccups. Actually, I probably haven't told anybody this, but I actually had I had COVID probably 4 or 5 weeks out. Yeah, and that sucked. That was, for me, it was more of a mental stress. I was sick for probably 3 days. I was pretty sick for 3 days. And I don't know. I was just taking the medicines and whatnot, just kind of trying to keep my mind right, and knowing I had a fist fight coming up, and I hear all these stories talking about how it affects your cardio and stuff, and I rely a lot on my cardio, so that can always scare you. But I just kind of tried to stay true to what I do, and that's just taking care of my body and doing the right things. I did a lot of breathing exercises. I do a lot of breathing exercises anyway, so I just kind of upped that while I was sick, and I rested and let my body recover. I did the 10-day quarantine and had a couple negative tests before I could go back to practice. So being out of practice for 2 weeks was pretty tough. It was, like I said, it was more tough on my mind. Like, I knew that I was in good shape, and I knew that 2 weeks off from the gym shouldn't put me in a bad spot. So I just kept telling myself that my cardio was going to be fine. And so when I did get back to the gym, 3 weeks out or so from the fight, did some hard sparring, did some hard wrestling rounds, blew out the lungs, and I felt good. So I didn't really have any problems as far as that goes, thankfully. So I'm blessed as far as that goes. But yeah, and I'd say the only thing it really changed was I was sparring a little harder than what I would normally spar that close to the fight. I mean, I think I was full sparring like, a week and a half before, just to get those rounds in that I missed while I was out. So, yeah, that was kind of the one hiccup in camp. Other than that, I was pretty good. My fridge went out in my camper, which kind of sucked. I didn't have any cold drinks, so that kind of sucked. But my teammates ended up buying me a new mini fridge, so thank you for that. That was big from them. So yeah, those were the only hiccups I had. Yeah.
Would you say it was a similar time of you finding out your opponent when you went back to the training? Was it a similar time?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, I just got back in the gym. I maybe been back in the gym a couple of days, and then I found out my opponent. Yeah.
After you found out your opponent, after obviously being off due to COVID, did that make you think, oh, this fight could be a bit more difficult now you've got a name?
Man, I never thought a single time about pulling out of the fight. A lot of that's just like my upbringing and just like who I am. I'm going into fights with injuries. I went into my second amateur fight with a dislocated rib. I went into my pro debut with a fractured ankle. So, like, just having that kind of experience of going into fights, kind of banged up, it never crossed my mind to pull out because I was sick. Um, and yeah, when the opponent came through, I was just glad I had an opponent. Like I started, getting a little bit worried that I wasn't even going to get an opponent. So when I saw the opponent, I was all smiles. I didn't necessarily care who it was, but man, my all respect to my opponent, he met me in the center of the cage, and that's all I could ask for. I just want somebody that's going to show up and fight, and that's what he did. I knew he was going to do that. When I saw his name, and he had a lot of followers on Instagram and whatnot. I knew that he'd show up and fight, and that was really my only concern. So yeah.
I wanted to ask, as you mentioned, obviously at the fight you had your mum, your dad, your fiance, your brother, and obviously all the support you've got back home. How much does that mean to you, having the support of everybody around you and more?
Yeah, it's great, man. I find new motivations every day in this sport. But man, I still think that I don't know. I still think that my main motivation is just putting smiles on people's faces, man. The people that I love, my family and friends and teammates, the people that support me. Just seeing how excited they get when I get a fight scheduled is a big motivational factor for me. And now I'm starting to make a little bit of a name for myself, or at least I hope that I am in the general community and the general population, to where I'm starting to get fans. You know what I mean? So like people coming up to me after the fight, taking pictures, and talking to me for a little bit, telling me that they watched my last fight. They're looking forward to my next one and that kind of stuff. Like uh, that that just makes me feel really good. I don't know. I just, like I said, I like to fight, and it's even better when people like watching you fight. So I'll always put it on the line in there for everybody that supports me. Um, yeah, I mean that just from my heart. I just like to thank everybody that supports me in this journey. But yeah. I don't know, man. It's a fun ride, and hopefully we can keep doing it. I know there's somebody out there that whooped my ass. I'm just trying not to let that happen.
I wanted to ask, I don't know if you've been watching any of the Cage Warriors trilogy events, but I know I think the new year that there's going to be the featherweight title fight between Jordan Fusenik and Paul Hughes. I don't know if you know much about the guys, but if you do, I wanted to get your thoughts on both guys.
Yeah, man, I didn't know that fight got scheduled. That's cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be tuning into that. I watched the interim fight during the trilogy
Yeah.
with and Hughes. Yeah, man, I think those guys are phenomenal fighters. I don't think they're any better than me. I think I go in there right now and give them both a good scrap. I think they fought before, maybe to a split decision or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was a decision.
Yeah, from what I've seen, man, like I think the Hughes kid is young and confident and hungry. I think that's his best assets. Is he thinks he's the best. So I think that's going to carry him a long way. Skill wise, I think he's got some work to do. I think his wrestling's a little sloppy. I think he's big and strong for the weight class. He's got a good left hook and a good left high kick. I think Lucinik beats him. From what I've seen from Lucinik, he's a little sharper. He's a little sharper on his feet, moves a little better. His footwork's fluid. His combinations are fluid. I haven't seen him a ton with offensive wrestling, but from what I can tell, he holds his own as far as the wrestling and grappling goes. So I think for Hughes to beat him, he's gonna have to push him up against the cage and make it dirty. Put him on the mat, get on top, control, and ground and pound. I don't know if he can do that. From what I've seen from Lucinik, he has a fairly good grappling game. He's pretty savvy in those positions. So yeah, I would probably say Lucinik by decision, just outclassing him a little bit. But yeah, that should be a good scrap. I'll definitely be tuning into that one for sure.
100%. As you mentioned earlier, you just come from a tough grappling practice, so I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. I just wanted to ask, do you have a message for anybody that has been with you on the journey so far?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, everybody that's supporting me. Like I said, I mean, that's what I do it for. So keep tuning in. I always say I'm going to try to, be a little better on my social media stuff. Still working on that. It always seems to slip my mind. But yeah, I'm trying to, take you guys on this journey with me, and in the training and just my daily life and stuff like that. So I'll try to do a little more content as far as that goes. But yeah, man. I want to thank my sponsor that I have for this fight, Huff Construction. I used to work for Huff Construction. They're a huge reason why I have the financial ability to be out here in California and fight full time. And now they're supporting me as a sponsor. So huge shout out to them. Love those guys. And yeah, big shout out to the Benton Wrestling program back home in Illinois. They're starting practice probably next week or something. So should be a good season for those guys. They've got a lot of good talent in there. Looking forward to watching them compete. Yeah, everybody back home. I'm coming back home in a couple weeks, maybe this week. I don't know. My schedule's all messed up, but I'll see you guys back home. Everybody that's buying Nomad shirts, thank you so much. We gotta get you a Nomad shirt. I know you were asking about them. I'll get you one. We'll ship it overseas and get that done for you. But yeah, man, I appreciate you always hollering at me on these interviews. Man, we're trying to raise our levels together, me and you. So I appreciate that. I'm always down to talk. I'm always willing to come on here, and I'm a realist. So like everything that I say is the truth, and that's what you're gonna get from me. So keep tuning in, and we're gonna have fun.
Well, Damon, as always, brother, it's been a pleasure. And again, thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, bro.
Hell yeah, Mason. Good talking to you as well.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Sir, you too.